My name is Sam, and I was on the hunt for a new computer screen to up my Xbox game. I'd managed to save up enough, but I didn't want to blow it all, so I turned to Craigslist for a good deal. And guess what? I found one that seemed just right. I hit up this guy named James, the seller. I asked if the screen was still up for grabs, and he replied pretty quickly, saying it was. He sent over an address and told me to swing by at 9 p.m. Late, yeah, but I was pumped about getting that screen. I'd bought stuff off Craigslist before, so the idea of meeting a stranger wasn't too freaky. Still, there's always that bit of weirdness. Around 8:30 p.m., I hopped in my car, and off I went to the address. The place was a 20-minute drive away, but man, a new gaming screen was worth it. As I got closer, though, I noticed the landscape changing. Fewer houses, more trees, and dirt roads. Night was falling, and doubt started niggling at me. Was this a good idea? But I was already halfway there, so I kept going. I thought about the other stuff I'd scored on Craigslist, all smooth deals. Why should this be different? My GPS chimed in, telling me I'd arrived. But I was staring at a cabin. Seriously, who lives in a cabin? Light was on, though, so it had to be the spot. I walked up to the door, knocked, and took a few steps back. After a while, the door creaked open, revealing James. A short old guy, maybe in his 50s. I walked in, and there he was. James seemed friendly enough, and I was ready to see the screen. The cabin was small, a couch being the only furniture. No TV, nothing. I asked where the screen was, and James said it was in the attic. I mean, seriously? Who puts a screen in the attic? I was about to say no thanks when he mentioned it was his grandkids' leftover stuff. Sounded legit, and I really wanted that screen. So James guided me to the attic. Hatch, ladder, the whole deal. I climbed up, and as soon as I was there, I noticed how dimly lit it was. One light bulb hanging from the ceiling. The screen was there in the middle, surrounded by boxes. I turned to look back at the hatch, and it slammed shut. I freaked and yelled. Frozen, no idea what was going on. It was so quiet up there, and I just stood. Heart racing, mind racing faster. I was trapped, and panic was creeping in. My gut was all twisted, and I was stuck in this bizarre Craigslist deal gone haywire. I stood there thinking for what felt like ages. Then, slowly, the hatch opened again. I was in full flight or fight mode now. Footsteps on the ladder coming closer. And there he was, James, with a crowbar. He didn't say a word, just charged straight at me. My instincts took over, and I bolted towards the window. I jumped out like a maniac. Got up, ran like hell to my car, and dialed 911. Adrenaline was pumping, but pain kicked in. I'd busted my foot in the fall. I met the police, spilled the beans. They called an ambulance for me, and then they went to James' place. The police knocked on the cabin door, and sure enough, James opened and let the police inside. The screen was on the kitchen table, and James acted all innocent like nothing went down. But the police saw the broken window. They hauled him away in cuffs. Can you believe this? A simple Craigslist deal turned into my worst nightmare. Just a reminder, not every deal is as sweet as it seems.
Story 2. He came back. I'm Jackie, and I needed to get rid of my couch, so I thought Craigslist would help. But 3 days passed and not a single response. So I decided to lower the price and give it another shot. Then, the very next day, a message popped up in my inbox. It was from someone named Amber. She wanted the couch and said she could pick it up that night. I was pretty excited because I really wanted to get rid of it. As the day went on, I got more and more anxious. I mean, I've used Craigslist before, but meeting someone you've never seen can be a little nerve-wracking. But hey, I thought, the couch needed a new home, so I figured I'd give it a shot. Amber was supposed to come by around 7 p.m. It was around 6:30 p.m. when my phone buzzed with another message from Amber. She said she was running late from work and that her husband would be coming to pick up the couch instead. I thought it was a bit strange, but I didn't want to be difficult. I agreed to it and waited for her husband to show up. At exactly 7 p.m., I heard a knock on my door. I looked out the window first, just to be cautious. And there he was, a tall man standing there. I opened the door, and he didn't waste any time. He said,
"Hey, Jackie. Nice to meet you."
The way he said it sent shivers down my spine. It was just weird. Trying to be polite, I invited him in and led him to the couch. Now, this is where things took a turn for the bizarre. He looked at the couch and said,
"Wow, nice couch. You must have had a lot of fun on it."
I mean, who says something like that? It gave me the creeps big time. I felt a bit disgusted and taken aback. I asked him if he was going to buy the couch or not. He replied that he could pay for it in a different way since he didn't have cash. At this point, I was really uncomfortable. So I told him to either pay or leave before I called the police. I pushed him a bit to make my point and insisted he go. He turned around and headed for the door, but not before saying,
"A girl that knows what she wants. I like it."
It was super creepy, and I watched him drive away, feeling relieved that he was gone. I just wanted to get back to normal life, but that wasn't in the cards. The next night, things took an even scarier turn. I got home from work around 10 p.m., exhausted and ready to relax. I took a shower, brushed my teeth, and settled into bed to watch some movies. It wasn't long before I was half awake and half asleep, engrossed in the movie. Then, out of nowhere, I heard a whisper,
"Hey, Jackie. I've been waiting for you."
My heart raced and I felt a jolt of fear. I jumped out of bed, my mind racing. When I looked towards my window, there he was again. That same man, standing outside, looking at me with a twisted smile on his face. Without hesitation, he said,
"I'm ready to pay for that couch. Just let me in."
Panic washed over me, and I ran to the living room, grabbing my phone as I went. My hands trembled as I dialed 911, tears streaming down my face. I was crying and trying to explain the situation to the dispatcher, my voice shaking uncontrollably. As I was on the call with 911, I could hear him moving around my house. The dispatcher told me I needed to open the door for the police. It felt like an eternity, but the police finally arrived. When I opened the door, they assured me they'd checked the area, but they didn't find anyone. I told them about the strange man who'd come to buy the couch and how he had been lurking around. They said they'd send a patrol car to watch over my place for the night and promised to investigate further. But I never got any updates from the police, and thankfully, I haven't seen that creepy man again. However, the fear and unease linger. I've become more cautious, always leaving lights on and double-checking locks. The image of his face staring at me through my window still haunts me, a reminder of the chilling encounter that could have turned out much worse.
Story 3. The Bike. My name is Dan, and you won't believe what happened when I tried to buy a bike for my daughter off Craigslist. I'm on a mission to find a bike, something special for my daughter's birthday. I'm scrolling through Craigslist and I see this ad for a beautiful bike covered in flowers. Perfect, right? The only thing is the seller wants to communicate by email, Kinda odd in 2023, but I figured, hey, maybe the guy's old-fashioned or something. I sent an email and got a surprisingly fast response. The email said the bike was still up for grabs and gave me an address to pick it up. After work, I drove to the place. I recognized the neighborhood, but not for good reasons. This was the rough part of town, known for drugs and trouble. I hesitated, but I was already there, so I thought, let's make this quick. I knocked on the door, and a guy in his 20s answered. He showed me to the backyard where the bike was waiting. I asked whose bike it was, and he said it was his sister. Seemed legit, so I handed over the cash, loaded the bike into my car, and drove home. I stashed the bike in the basement, looking forward to surprising my daughter on her big day. Later that night, around 10 p.m., after my daughter was in bed, I was chilling on the couch, watching TV and unwinding. That's when I heard it. Faint footsteps from the backyard. I got up, peeked out the window, but saw nothing. I figured it was just animals. They'd been in my yard before. Back on the couch, those footsteps came back, louder now. I got up again and checked. And this time, I saw movement around the corner of the house. It wasn't an animal. It was someone. Panic set in. I dialed the police, telling them about the footsteps. While talking to the dispatcher, I saw someone outside the window. I raced upstairs to my daughter's room, wanting to keep her safe. The police were on their way. Suddenly, a window shattered downstairs. My daughter woke up crying, and I held her, whispering that everything would be okay. Footsteps echoed downstairs, and then they were on the stairs, getting closer to my daughter's room. She clung to me, and outside her door, a voice said, "We know you're here. Where's the money?" My heart raced, and I held her tighter. Then sirens blared in the distance. The police were here. Chaos erupted as someone ran downstairs and out of the house. The police stormed inside, making sure we were safe. They told me they saw 4 guys running to a car and speeding away. They were right behind them. My house was a mess and my TV was gone. I knew who did it. I told the police about the bike seller. I was sure it was him. They went to that address, and guess what? 3 of the guys were there in the same house. The police had followed the trail and they nailed them. So there you have it. My Craigslist bike adventure turned crazy. It's a story I won't forget. Who knew trying to get a bike for my daughter would lead me into all this chaos? Just goes to show, things aren't always what they seem, and even a simple deal can turn into a wild ride you never saw coming.
Story 4. He followed me. My name is Lizzie, and I was looking for a new kitchen table, and Craigslist seemed like the way to go. I found this wooden one that seemed perfect. Reached out to the seller named Jonathan on WhatsApp, and got a reply saying it was available. But little did I know, this was the start of something eerie and unsettling. The idea of meeting a stranger made me anxious, but that table was exactly what I wanted. So, around 8 p.m., I headed to the address Jonathan gave me. The neighborhood seemed normal enough. I knocked on the door, and a tall man opened up, inviting me in. He showed me the table in the kitchen, but something was off. The table looked ancient, not at all like the pictures. When I questioned him, he calmly said the table was downstairs. Confused and unnerved, I turned to leave, and that's when he said,
Thanks for coming.
with a chilling smile. I bolted out of there, speeding home, swearing off Craigslist for good. As I was getting ready for bed around 10 p.m., things took a dark turn. I heard fiddling at the door handle, like someone was trying to get in. I ventured downstairs and peered outside. No one, In the stillness of the night, my unease grew. Just as I was about to head back upstairs, a knock echoed through the glass back door. And when I turned, my heart nearly stopped. Jonathan was standing there, just staring at me. I raced upstairs and dialed the police, trembling. While on the line with the dispatcher, I received a WhatsApp message. And it was from Jonathan. He wrote, "You can let me in now, or I will get in another time." My panic skyrocketed, and I begged the dispatcher to hurry. The house felt like a maze of shadows, and I waited for what felt like an eternity. Finally, the police arrived, and I led them around, sharing my terrifying encounter. We searched, but Jonathan had vanished. The police said there wasn't much they could do since he wasn't there. It's been 3 weeks, and I'm haunted. I can't sleep, constantly fearing the unknown. There's been no sign of Jonathan, but the memory of his chilling smile and his unnerving message still lingers. That experience shattered my sense of security.
Thanks for watching the Haunted Sketchbook. Be sure to check out any of the videos on screen right now if you're planning on not sleeping tonight.